Hi, everyone. This is Doug. I came up with an idea that I'd like to run by everybody on the channel and see if you're interested. And in particular, if you are a person who doesn't like what they hear here, wants to debate me, wants to prove something I've said is wrong. And so I'm going to provide a format that can be done. And I'm going to suggest, as the first issue, is this particular one that can be debated. And I'm going to show you how it would be debated. You don't have to debate me live. What we do is I'll do a video for 30 minutes on a topic. Then you can do a 30-minute rebuttal separately, and we post it at a web service. It does contests where two people have two different points of views. You put up to 2 videos. I can do a 15-minute reply to your video, and that's it. Then it's submitted to people who then vote, and then that vote is tallied, and that can be the final determination. Or eventually, maybe we can even ask scholars. We could pay scholars to come on board and give judgments, determinations of what they think. And maybe we could do a mixture of the vote of the people, and at the same time have the vote of the scholars, the academics. We're not going to allow any debater who is a pastor because, unfortunately for you, you're disqualified because you already are part of the system. So this is a question for the lay people to make the determination. And I would include even an academic person. So even a lay person can be an academic adequate to serve in that more sophisticated role of making a determination. So anyway, here's the first issue. Did Paul contend Jesus appeared in the flesh on earth on the road to Damascus? Simple question. Fact or, which way is that? Second, if so, would this violate Matthew 24, the prophecy by Jesus, which is called the Son of Man prophecy, that basically I'm not going to come back once he's ascended. He's not coming back in a wilderness place or a private place. And if anyone says they saw me that way, you don't listen to them, don't believe them, because when I return, every eye on earth will see me. That's the passage. And so if Paul claims that Jesus appeared to him, then how can he possibly, this Jesus, be the Jesus of who spoke on earth, who is the person we all claim to be following? So that would invalidate Paul, and it's in each of the three accounts by Paul. They're in Acts 9, 22, and 26. And so those have to be known by you if you want to debate me. And you'll see if you can break it down and find a way around that. If not, then the consensus would be from that vote or that voting determination that Paul is an invalid apostle, just by that alone. On the other hand, if I'm wrong, let's find out. Okay, so that's what a debate can do. Okay, so let me just show you the article that is online now that anybody can research and say, let me read up on that. I want to debate Doug on that maybe. All right. So if you want to find this, it's at the JesusWordsOnly.org, Jesus.org, and it'll be in an article titled by this, and I will have a link to it in the description to this video, so you can go take a look at it, and you'll see you can read it here. And basically, I'll just read this. What it says: Was Paul deceived by someone in the wilderness saying, "I'm Jesus, coming in Christ's name," implying he was the Messiah, Jesus? Does Paul's experience fit Jesus' warning that we should not believe those coming in the wilderness or privately, quote, in my name, saying I'm the Christ after he ascended? Jesus explains that when he returns and appears next from heaven on earth, he'll be visible from every point, east and west. So don't be fooled by an impostor Jesus who only appears on earth in a private way or in a wilderness. It's in Matthew 24, verses 4-6 and 26-27, most precisely. And Paul's experience with several companions on the wilderness road to Damascus was such that Paul says Jesus, quote, appeared to Paul just as Jesus appeared to the 12. That's in 1 Corinthians 9, verse 1. So that's the first issue. Did Paul contend that Jesus appeared to him just as he appeared to the 12? Now, when this happens in Acts 9, Jesus already has ascended in Acts 1 back to heaven. And that's where we're waiting for him to return in the second coming, where every eye sees him. So if Paul, it's very determinative of the issue, I think, whether Paul claims he actually had an appearance, that Jesus came and showed up. The people with Paul saw the light, did not see Jesus in it, but the light was very bright, and Paul said he got blinded looking into that light. And then you have the men with him heard the voice of that of Jesus, but Paul was told was Jesus, but they didn't understand it. That's how it's mostly most of the time translated, and that could be because they were Greek speakers. Paul could speak Hebrew and Greek, and he could have understood Jesus speaking Hebrew. And at one point, Paul says Paul says Jesus spoke in Hebrew to him. So that could be an explanation. So there's all kinds of explanations about that, and we could have debates about that. But I think the bottom line issue is, did Paul claim that Jesus appeared to him? That's issue number one. And then issue two is, if so, does that violate the prophecy of the Son of Man? And let me just finish the point here. The companions' perception, however, was limited. They heard the voice but saw no one, Acts 9, verse 7. However, in another account in Paul's court testimony, they saw the light but did not hear the voice, which some translate as they did not understand the voice, Acts 22, verse 20, Acts 22, verse 9. So others with Paul shared the experience in both their hearing and sight, although apparently not seeing a person and not understanding the voice. Paul's experience was thus not solely a mental one, but an appearance of Jesus in Paul's physical presence. That's my argument. That's my conclusion. Can you dispute that? Can you refute that? Or in opposition, you may have to concede that point. That'll be your strategy, whoever wants to debate me. Then the second issue will be, does it come within the warning of Matthew 24? So let's take a look at that so we get a good picture. Let's take a look here. So this article goes on, so you can take a look at all the arguments I had. But the question is, I call it an obvious question that is routinely overlooked. This is an obvious question because Paul's encounter, given the clear import of the words of Jesus. What is that obvious import? Even commentators summarize the clear meaning of Jesus in a way that one must wonder how commentators' minds never question whether Jesus' warning might apply to Paul. For example, Henry Alford, died in 1871, Doctor of Divinity, Dean of Canterbury, in his New Testament for English Readers, Rivington, 1868, at page 162, commented on Matthew 24, verses 4 to 5. He says this: for many, this was the first danger awaiting them, not of being drawn away from Christ, but of imagining that these persons were Christ himself. Alfred then explains the reference to "in my name" means the false Jesus say they are Jesus as the grounds for their pretenses. Alfred did not address the clear import of what he was saying as applying to Paul's encounter. It involved Paul claiming an appearance of the risen Christ to himself, making himself a witness to the resurrection, along with the men with Paul who hear the voice saying, "I am Jesus," Acts 9, verse 7. Paul, in fact, later testifies in court that Ananias, a devout man and well-regarded person, not a prophet, told him at Damascus a short while after Paul's experience outside Damascus that, quote, "the Holy One is chosen thee, for thou shalt be a witness, a martys," not apostle, a martys, "to all men of what you have seen and heard," Acts 22, verse 15. It is clear Paul claims that Ananias understood the saying that Paul saw and heard that Jesus outside of Damascus, and so too did his companions, had a shared sensory experience of this Jesus. But what Alfred never applied to Paul's experience, we will do so here. And then I go on and discuss Alfred's summary. And I'm going to do this briefly because, again, I want to make sure anyone who wants to contest this understands what you're going to have to disprove. Alfred then discusses a warning in Matthew 24, verse 27, about someone coming in the wilderness saying he is Jesus. Alfred explains that Jesus said to guard them against the impostors who led people out into the wilderness, see Acts 21:38, or invited them to consult privately. See, Jesus uses that word, out in the wilderness. And that's important because in that day and age, whenever you were inside of a city, you were in a city. Whenever you were outside a city, you were in the wilderness. Okay. More precisely, Jesus said the appearance to be warned about was in the wilderness. Thus, even though Alfred did not address whether the imposter scenario out in the wilderness applies to Paul's encounter in the same book of Acts, where Alfred saw at least one parallel in history. And then Alfred talks about an Egyptian who led the people into the wilderness. But we will examine the Paul parallel here. Finally, Alfred says the fact that Jesus' next appearance on earth after ascending to heaven would instead be seen, quote, like lightning from east to west and not privately or in the wilderness, meant it, quote, shall be a plain, unmistakable fact, understood of all, sudden and all-pervading. Furthermore, because the lightning is from, quote, both ends of heaven at once, Alfred says this is like Revelation 1, verse 7, which Jesus says to Christ's return, quote, every eye will see him. That's at page 168 of his book. The stress is on the universality of this event as a discriminating factor between an imposter Jesus and the true Jesus. So again, likewise, we apply this final criteria to the experience of Paul, whereas he sees the light, and hears a voice saying, I am Jesus, but this event is neither unmistakable nor universal, but instead is in the wilderness and private. We will ask the question that no reputable commentator has asked, even though it appears painfully obvious. That's my position. Can you refute that? Can you prove that that what happened on the road to Damascus isn't an appearance? Or if you have to concede that, or you lose that argument with the audience we're going to create here, would you be able to refute that Paul did not therefore violate the appearance rule of Jesus, that when I've ascended, I'm not coming back in any private or wilderness place to appear to anybody? So I want to see if there's anybody who thinks they can disprove this. Please contact me. Post your comment first. Say who you are, give your email address, and then we will be in contact with you, and I'll give you more of the next step here. So let me just give you a little detail about the rules of this contest, because it's going to be important to know what's going to happen. I'm going to create an incentive for you getting a prize if you can beat me in a contest. So we'll see how that works. Okay, so I found this web page, this website called Launchpad. It's actually called launchpad6.com. And then I've contacted them, and they actually are based in Australia, but they create contests all around the world. Sometimes they're inside of a company to determine a contest issue about somebody's position or advocacy of certain solution to a certain problem in business versus another person's solution. And then the employees get to vote on it. It's very interesting. It's very democratic in that sense. And they have other options than just simply having raw votes. You can have a set of judges make a decision, people who are hired for that very contest. And the contest usually takes about 3 months to fully do. So, for example, once we agree, we have to get signed agreements from you. We have to get an understanding of the rules, and then the other thing is we have to put in place, or we will have to set up a web page. So once I get somebody who's interested in doing this, I have to set up this web page. It costs money. It's quite substantial. I'm willing to front this money. So it's about $400 a month for 3 months. However, I'm hoping, and then I can shut it down. And then when it's inactive, it's $100 a month just to maintain the original contest. And then I can add more contests to the same framework, and then it goes back up to 400. So the way this works is, once you agree to do this contest with me and sign the agreement, then you would be obliged to respond within 30 days after I put on a video. It'll take me some time. I'm going to redo a video. Although I've got 6 videos on this topic, I have to make it truncated to 30 minutes, right? So I'll make my argument in 30 minutes. Then you'll get 30 days to do your argument in 30 minutes. I mean, if you could do it faster, that'd be great, but that's the idea. So for sure, the faster you could do it, the better. Then I get to do a 15-minute video reply, and that then closes it, and then the matter is fixed in place. Then when that's all done, we invite people to now go look at all 3 videos at the same time, and then they get to make a vote. Now, what is necessary to prevent any type of uh, jerry rigging by people who just use multiple of email addresses and so on is a small fee will be required of $2. That's necessary to run a credit card, and it will collect the $2 fee, and that will also help me pay back that $400 a month. I'm pretty sure that we can get 200 people to vote. And if we get 200 people every month, every 30 days after that, we'll leave it open for a while. I'm pretty sure we'll get at least, I would need to pay for the 1,200. I need 600 votes total. And but now the person who, if you challenge me, I hope you have your own YouTube channel, and you can then promote this on your YouTube channel. And I'm also thinking of using my AdSense account. I have a $500 free credit they told me I can use. They want to make me use AdSense, so I could promote this for free and get $500 worth of advertising to just get this thing off the ground. Because I think if I could do this, ultimately, it will maybe even produce more revenue, even though it's a small request and it's necessary to prevent fraud to put in a $2 charge. It could also help fund this for the future. And for our next step, maybe we'll go up to the level of hiring experts, people who are academics, such as Bart Ehrman, maybe, or James DeBoer, or people like that, or even Eisenman. Help us resolve certain disputes that we're having, and we would be benefited by that. So and if that happens, we'll have that predetermined, and then you would. I'm not going to surprise you with judges after the fact. Right now, it would be completely neutral in the sense if it's just people who are listening who will make the decision, who wins the debate and who doesn't win the debate. And then I'm going to put a prize in, or at least that's my intention, that if you compete, you can win a $100 prize. And I was going to put in a $100 entry fee for people to join and do the debate with me, because otherwise I just have 10 people tell me I want to debate you, and then they don't follow through and so on. But if you pay $100 and you forfeit if you don't submit uh, your debate response within 30 days, then I've just wasted a lot of time, and I'm incurring a lot of fees monthly for something that ended up not happening. So what I'm thinking of doing, if unless people have a strong objection, is I'm going to ask for $100, but the minute you submit your reply within 30 days to my video, you'll get your $100 immediately back at that time. Then, but you still can win $100 if you win the debate. That's how I'm going to set it for the moment. We'll see. If a lot of people vote and there's extra, maybe I can make a limit that if it goes over the $1,200, the prize could include another $100 or something. So you could win up to $200. At least I want to start small, not make extravagant promises. And anyway, so that would be how it would work. And there's no interference by this company, Launchpad 6, at all. They just simply administer contests. They don't care what we're debating about. They don't influence anything. They don't care. Now, let me just show you a little bit how this might look when you get involved in this, if you're interested. So let's say I put my video up and you have 30 days to respond. And here you'd see a timer giving you the days and the hours, the minutes and the seconds for you to still get your upload of your response. So this is just to show you. Let me start the video here so you kind of get an idea. So this is just going to be clicking off, and then you put in your response, the title of it, you upload your document. Here is a instruction of why they advise to have certain settings inside of the voting that prevents fraud. So their job is to just simply tally the votes, but they make it set up, if you follow the rules, so that it's virtually cannot be tampered with, meaning people cannot concocted email addresses and start making multiple votes. And as I said, one of the ways of doing that is you require a credit card, because most people don't keep multiple credit cards with different email addresses and different names and aliases, right? So you isolate person to one vote, one time, and that's you have to run a $2 charge. You can't run $1 or less. Apparently, you have to run higher than that. So anyway, this is that's funny. How to stop contest fraud ruining your campaign. And I just want to show you some of the discussions here. Make it clear that fraud votes will be removed. So we'll put that instruction in the web page itself. And that's exactly what this is. This is not hosted here at the YouTube channel itself. It will be hosted at a separate web page that Launchpad will create and use to drive traffic to their own little mechanisms, because they want us to succeed in what we're doing. So they're going to drive traffic to this page. We'll do what we can through the YouTube channel here to drive traffic, but they're going to help also. And then maybe we'll even use some advertising to get other traffic, just because I think it's a great idea, I think, to have a conflict of ideas, not in politely, but professionally and with dignity, as topics that are spiritual in nature, we should be able to handle in a spiritually appropriate manner. And then they're going to advise, don't set public votes as the sole winning selection criteria. So that's what I want to get to the point where if we could launch this first one and make a little extra coin, if you will, to spend money to maybe offer $1,000 to Bart Ehrman to make a judgment, or maybe make Judge Tabor and Mr. Wilson and people who are academics in this area, or Mr. Eisenman, where we could offer them money that's reasonable, not worth an hour and a half of their time to listen to an hour and a half of video, or an hour and 15 minutes of video, and then make their own determination who won the debate, whether they agree with the conclusion or not, who wins the debate on its merits. And then, what would they make comments or suggestions or evaluations, or is it less could it be more convincing or less convincing? We can do all kinds of things where we ask them to do a short video, all kinds of things where they can make a comment on this topic. Wouldn't that be great that we could then get an interchange between what we're saying and what the academic world? And I don't expect they're all going to agree uh, at all, but that might be useful. But we can't get there until we have an economic launch where we have some extra coin left over to do this. And they also suggest doing multiple rounds. Narrow down the best entries using public voting, and then conduct one or more internal judging panel rounds. So that might be the best way. You first start with public voting, then you bring in the professionals, bring in Bart Ehrman, bring in a Tabor, bring in a Mr. Wilson, and so on, and a Eisman, and that way you can do a two-step process, which actually is what I think I would prefer, because then we would have the coin from the first votes, and then we could offer them some money to pay for the professional judgment, if you will. Uh, use, excuse me, it says use the email voting gateway. By using an email gateway for voting means that the voters will need to enter the email address to cast a vote. ContestPad validates the email by sending the voter a validation token key for them to validate the email address, and only after doing this is the vote counted. So this is another thing is people can make up votes and then it's not really them. So there will be a validation, and this is something they do. I don't have to do a thing. This is what they're saying. Just set it up that way, and they will carry it out. Monitor voting. As voting commences, even after voting is complete, there is no substitute for monitoring your vote data. You can export all votes in a CSV format, so you can even do more detailed analysis using Excel or some other analysis tool. So basically, they give you a way of detecting fraud. Okay, so if necessary, if it's a close vote, we'll have to say, okay, did someone cheat, or is there something abnormal we can detect? And then we don't want cheating here. And it's not that I need to win by all costs, but I think it's not fair if I win unfairly. Somebody thinks, I'm going to help Doug and I'm going to put in all these votes. No, it applies to everybody. And we'll ask these people to do this analysis themselves for us. Then he has blocking, remove, or suspect votes. So, and then we have to put an agreement in place that allows us to know whoever wants to participate in this will have to agree that there's going to be disallowances of things that have indicia of fraud or don't match certain criteria, and they have a standard contract that they've drafted, and then I can adapt to our situation. Okay, now I just want to show you finally what it's going to look like in the back end when it's not in the back end, in the front end. When it's finally done, this is what people are going to see. So this is an example of 6 different videos. They're all competing with each other. Which is the best one? Just imagine it's you're posting, and then my initial posting, and reply. And so those are the 2 sets, and the people get to vote who won, and they can then vote by clicking the button, vote now, underneath the one they believe is the correct position biblically. Okay, and I have one more thing that I think might be interesting, and also another way to determine a winner or loser, or give a bonus point or something. Let's see, you'll see. And I'm going to ask our friend of the channel, David Nassari, if he doesn't mind if I'm going to use his video to do this uh, this test, this poll question after they voted, after the person has voted. Then we would ask them a question, and we're going to play his clip here of a quote of Reverend Holmes Gore, and ask the people, prior to hearing this debate, and then prior to hearing this quote at the end, would you have agreed or disagreed with it? It's a critique of Paul. Would they have agreed to the critique of Paul prior to hearing the video? So that would tell us, if they say yes, that they likely are people who support the Jesus word only position of this channel. On the other hand, if they say no, we would not have believed what David Nassari is reading from Holmes Gore, but now we have changed our mind, that would be a real victory in terms of what I'm trying to do, try to open people up to following Christ and turn away from Paul, You'll say that, but that's the debate issue, right? So if if the person says, I didn't believe, I would have rejected this statement from home score before, and I still do, which means I haven't changed that person's mind. So I'd lose that person. So you could actually determine later how many people who were stayed in their same position. So, in other words, that's a victory for my opponent. The people didn't agree with me before, and they heard what I had to say. They heard the debate opposition, and they agreed with the opposition, and they didn't change their mind. So, it's a way of knowing, engaging the audience's predisposition. So, this is the clip I want to put in as a poll question on exit. So, this is after people have already watch the videos and now can listen to a poll question. So this is what I intend to do. If you have an objection to this, let me know. But I think this is a good question to ferret out where people stood beforehand. So let's listen to David reading from this quote of Reverend Holmescore.
The first one is from a book, Christ or Paul, by Reverend V.A. Holmescore. Let the reader contrast the true Christian standard with that of Paul, and he will see the terrible betrayal of all that the Master taught. For the surest way to betray a great teacher is to misrepresent his message. That is what Paul and his followers did. And because the church has followed Paul in his error, it has failed lamentably to redeem the world. The teachings given by the blessed Master Christ, which the disciples John and Peter and James, the brother of the Master, tried in vain to defend and preserve intact, were as utterly opposed to the Pauline gospel as the light is opposed to the darkness.
So I think with David consent, I'd like to use that and as a exit poll question, and I think that will be able to determine the impact of the video on the viewers. Did they change their mind, or did they stay with the same position they had before? And it'd be very interesting. Okay, so anyway, I hope that somebody who's listening to this wants to do this kind of debate. You have to do only a 30-minute video. That's really all you have to do, and all the rest will be done for you and around you. There'll be a prize, and as I said, if we can go over $1,200 in total funding, which this takes about 3 months to put online and create these votings and collect votes for a significant enough period of time, that costs money. And then once that threshold has been reached, we need to make $1,200. We need 600 votes times $2, and that would cover that. And then from that point forward, prize money might come into play. I could figure something out where we could divide up some prize money over that for the people who are participating, and we can negotiate on that in the contract, which I will sign with whoever is someone interested in this topic. Again, please look in the description to read that article, the article on the Road to Damascus issue from the website JesusWordsOnly.org. And then we'll also provide you a link to we have 6 videos already on this topic, and you can watch each one or just one or two. I'm sure they're all pretty going to cover the same points. And then you can prepare yourself if you want to take on this challenge. I'd love somebody to do that. All right. God bless. Ciao.